Welcome, hello, and welcome to the Pederscope. I'm your host, Steve Pederson. We're here talking about keys to being the difference, and today's key for episode number 14 is Reframe and Rephrase. Reframe and Rephrase. Thanks, guys, for joining me as we get started here and people start streaming in. Want to encourage you to follow and connect. Would love to connect with you guys and hear your questions and your comments live on the Pederscope. Let's get into it. We're talking about reframing and rephrasing. The start, where that all starts with, of course, is being aware of and recognizing your self-talk. So maybe this episode should be called Recognize, Reframe, and Rephrase. Well, that's a little bit long, so let's just stick with reframe and rephrase. It's got a nice ring to it. But like I said, recognizing your self-talk, of course, we have to first just acknowledge there is a constant, steady stream of thoughts going through our minds. There's this constant inner dialogue going on. And we don't have to treat that as a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's actually an incredible thing, and it's something that can be used to our advantage. However, it can't really be used to our advantage if we're not aware of it and we're not actively and intentionally guiding it the way that we want it to go. This inner dialogue that's going on, by default, I think it, for me anyhow, from the people that I've observed, it has a tendency to kind of train wreck. So that's why we have this opportunity to reframe even this concept. Let's take an example. I'll give you an example from my life. So yesterday I had a situation come up. I got some news. It was not great news. It was not news that I wanted to hear. The person involved, something bad happened to their home. They actually have to move out of their house. And what happened was I was going to be staying with them when I went to visit. And now I don't have a place to stay. Of course, I'm not in nearly as bad of a situation as they are. So that's part of the reframing. But it still put me in a situation where I had to think about, oh my gosh, what does this mean for me? And of course, well, right away I started thinking of all of these negative implications. So what reframing is, it's just putting things in a different frame of reference and putting yourself in a different frame of mind, looking at, all right, here's the situation, here's how I'm looking at it. What do my beliefs say about how I'm looking at it? Maybe I need to take a look at my beliefs about this whole situation, because really all challenges are simply an opportunity in disguise. One of the situations that had come up was, well, I'm going to be at this conference. One of the challenges that were resulting with me staying with this person was, well, now I'm quite a ways away from the hotel where the conference is going to be. So instead of looking at this as, oh my gosh, now I don't have a place to stay, now I reframed that and looked at it as, well, now I can actually stay at the hotel where the event is at. So reframing totally puts you in just a completely different state of mind, a more helpful state of mind. Now, rephrasing our inner dialogue. I'm going to share with you another personal thing that happened as a result. What happened, because I didn't put this event in a great and helpful frame of reference from the beginning, I started to take a little bit of an emotional dive, if you will. I kind of tanked emotionally. And that wasn't helpful. And emotions, as you know, are just simply a result of our thinking. Well, one of the things that I did to try to help myself get out of this was to journal about it. And here's what I wrote. I feel like whenever I have a really bad day and I'm really struggling emotionally, that I am so totally unqualified to be doing the Pederscope. Who am I to be giving advice on how to be the difference when I can hardly keep my emotional act together? Now that's what just kind of flowed out of just a stream of consciousness as I was writing. Now fortunately, what I was able to do was I was able to recognize that thought, especially the last thought that says, I can hardly keep my emotional act together. Now, if you were to say that, if that's something that you feel like, and you say that, that's almost like it's not almost, it is. It's an affirmation. If you were to get up in the morning and say this affirmation to yourself, I can hardly keep my emotional act together. I mean, that, first of all, is certainly not helpful. It's certainly not true. But the thing is that this is what I was thinking. This was my belief. Your thoughts come from your beliefs. And what I was able to do is I was able to recognize that my belief was telling me that I can hardly keep my emotional act together. And so now, seeing that and recognizing that, I have the opportunity to rephrase that in a way that is more helpful. So what I could have said is, boy, it's hard to be giving advice on being the difference when you're not in a helpful emotional state. But I can get into a helpful emotional state. I am a mature adult. I am certainly capable of keeping my emotional act together. I could certainly do that. And when I do, I'll be in a much better frame of mind. I'll be reframed, and I can be of help and be of service to other people. So therein lies the key to being the difference. How can this be a key to being the difference is simply, well, you're obviously much more helpful to people when you take your self-talk, reframe it, first of all, recognize it, then reframe it in a helpful state of mind, and then rephrase it, actually state it, and create an affirmation. So from this, I could create an affirmation that says, I am able to keep my emotional act together. I have the emotional maturity to keep my act together. And when we say these things, then we can and will be the difference. So my encouragement to you today for a practical thing that you can do is just take some time and journal and see what's going on. Recognize what's going on in your self-talk and see if you can reframe and rephrase what it is that's going on. Guys, thanks so much for joining me for another Pederscope. I am here every weekday morning at 8:35 a.m. to deliver another key to being the difference. For previous Pederscopes, you can always check out my website, stevepederson.com, and catch up with all of the previous episodes. We'll see you next time on the next Pederscope. Until then, take care.